Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And back with some more headlines here. To start off, dealing with some information, about the strait, right, which is still, it's still not fully open at this point, the Strait of Hormuz, that is. As there's still disruptions here and there, and they're trying to come to agreements, and it's all that whole so-called complicated case at the moment. But as it says here, that is not the global economy, the supply chain, the energy chain, or the global energy supply does not care about that. Right. that doesn't do anything. You're not going to tell, by the way, you're going to tell the oil reserves that, yeah, we're working on it. So, let's calm down a bit there. That's completely irrelevant. Right. So as they're still figuring out, what to do with this case, reserves are still going down. Right. Countries are still in need, and the supply levels are getting lower and lower. So as it says, race to reopen Hormuz intensifies as global supply chain stress remains at COVID levels. The latest Bloomberg data show that shipping transits through the Strait of Hormuz remained largely disrupted Monday morning, even as Iran and Oman reportedly moved closer to a deal. Brent crude futures traded near $85 a barrel as markets priced in the possibility that a deal to reopen the maritime choke point could be imminent. And it's just, at this point, it's hilarious. It's funny, right? How many times people are going to fall for it. Anyway, it says, yet global supply chain stress remains near its highest level since the demic, and any normalization could take months, even if shipping traffic resumes. And why is that? That's because you have a global economy that wasn't recovered, okay, because all the things that have transpired within the past decade and so on, they're not, all that's happening is they're showing you data and they're telling you things, giving you reports to make it seem like everything is good, right? To putting makeup over a bruise to make it look like everything is good, but that's not, okay? And this global economy is going through a transition. That's what this is for. So it makes sense why those numbers are not coming down, because when you build up that momentum, what you'll notice is, it's been a couple months where this has been going on back and forth, but when you deal with things on a global level, they don't just shift on a dime, right? It's a process, especially when it comes to like a supply chain. Like, think of it like a straw. When you're drinking something with a straw, you can, whatever you're drinking, even if the straw is removed from the cup, there's still a bit more left in the straw before that eventually, right, is finished, right? So it's not that immediately, just when even though it goes really fast, but it's not that immediately once you take the straw out the cup, that's it. No, there's still a little bit left in the straw. And that's the lag, right? That before, because once whatever's left in the straw is done, then that's it. Now you're not getting anything at all, right? So the things that have transpired over the past few months, they are and have taken a toll, and they're going to continue to take a toll. Okay, now the after effects are being felt. It's like when somebody walks past you, and then like half a second later, then the wind follows them. Okay. So it says here, that's why it says any normalization could take months, because one, you gotta stop the problem and then try to start fixing the damages that it has caused. But this place will never get to that point where they're able to just fully fix everything and then just be chilling for however long they want to be chilling for, because that's not how the Lord has set it up to be. No matter how good it looks, no matter how peaceful things look, the Lord has set up destruction on the forecast with these particular nations. Keep that in your head, okay? See what else is in here. All right, that's it on this. Moving on to the next one. Try to keep it brief. Dealing with some more on the financial level. Now, this is something interesting, right? I wasn't even looking at this before. But as you can see in the headline, the financial equivalent of all-out nuclear war. Jim Rickards says, yen intervention is the biggest story in the world. And he's basically saying that basically what's going on with and over there with Japan is going to have a major effect because a lot of people are not paying attention to what is happening with them raising their interest rates, but that's actually going to affect the world. It says 8-time best-selling financial author Jim Rickards is warning of a financial calamity already underway that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is trying to contain. It is the Japanese yen carry trade where the U.S. Treasury is propping up the yen's value. Is the yen carry trade coming to a halt, and can it blow things up? Rickards says the answer is yes and yes. Somebody wrote me, quote unquote, somebody wrote me and asked if the yen carry trade is a big deal. I wrote them back and said there is nothing bigger. This is actually the biggest story in the world. Now, as we're going to read a little bit more, you'll see that the reason he's saying this is because he's looking at the chain reaction, right? The after effects of what's actually going on right now. Okay. In simple terms, the problem is people have been borrowing at 0% in yen to do deals around the world. Everything was fine until interest rates rose in Japan, or until interest rates in Japan started going up after more than 2 decades. So for about 20 years, those interest rates were just flat. They were just where they were. And now they're starting to go up. Rickard says this is the engine of global economic growth. It has been powering the U.S. economy and the global economy for over 30 years. What could go wrong? And that being that people borrowing at 0% in the yen and then doing deals around the world sort of keeps that circulation going, right? Keeps that flow going. The thing that could go wrong the fastest is if Japanese interest rates went up. The Bank of Japan the Bank of Japan says it is going to keep raising interest rates. It's not going to the moon, but 3% for yen and Japanese interest rates is like going to the moon when it's been 0% for 20 years. So for 20 years, it's been at 0%, and then now they're just raising it, going all the way up to 3%. And he's saying that sudden shock could, lead to the next part of what he says. So now the yen carry trade is unwinding. The original borrower borrows dollars to pay back the yen loan, right? So people would borrow yen at 0% interest rate to make deals, right? Now the original borrower would, as it says here, borrow dollars to go and pay back that loan. But remember, when you take out a loan, a 0% interest rate is perfect. But when you take out a loan and now you got a 2-3% interest rate, you got to pay back a lot more, right? So if you had borrowed and now they're raising interest rates, that's a problem. Okay. And he says here, so they borrow dollars to pay back the yen loan, swaps the yen and pays back the yen loan. What if you can't borrow? What if the bank says, sorry, no soup for you? Now, what do you do if you want to get out of the yen carry trade? You have to sell assets. So you are going to sit there and make a lot less money or even lose money, or you're going to dump assets to get dollars to pay back the yen loan. They are both bad for the markets. If you have to sell assets, guess what? The price goes down. And other people have to sell assets. And the more people are selling, the lower the price is. The next thing you know, it's a stampede. And everyone is running for the exit. This is not a few investment banks on Wall Street or a few hedge funds. This is the whole world getting out of the leveraged exchange rate engine that has been running the world for 30 years. That is the financial equivalent of all-out nuclear war. Why is that happening now, of all times? Amidst this global supply chain crunch, this global economic turmoil that's going on, All of these things are happening because we're in a transition period. Okay? And these elite, look, we've been telling you for years, right, about the plans these elites have. If we've been telling you about their plans, what do you think they've been trying to do for the past how long? They've been trying to bring it to pass. And they're seeing that they have less and less time, because it's not just like, oh, they can just keep the people deceived and do what they want. People are becoming more and more aware and alert, especially as this truth, that this gospel is being preached more and more. And in Matthew 24:14, it says that, right? When the gospel shall be preached in all the world, then shall the end come. So they know that they're running out of time, and that's why they're trying to move quick, and put certain cover stories here and pull these strings behind the scenes. But it's all in vain for them, at least for what they're hoping for. Okay. Rickards goes on to explain Japan is the #1 holder of U.S. treasuries. They have been selling treasuries to get dollars to buy yen to prop up the yen. What happens when you sell treasuries? U.S. interest rates go up. Do you think the Trump administration or Secretary of the Treasury wants U.S. interest rates to go up? Because if you have high interest rates, people don't want to deal with you, right? If you were trying to buy a house, right, and you're trying to go and get a loan from a bank, are you going to look at the banks with the highest interest rates and say, oh yeah, I'm just going with that? No, you're going to be looking for ones with the lowest interest rates so that you don't have to pay back as much. So if you're a bank, it's good for you if your interest rates are low. So going back here, it says Treasury Secretary Bessent called Japan and said, hold on to your treasuries. We will give you all the dollars you need with a swap line with the Federal Reserve. So what we are doing is the U.S. is using dollars from the Fed to prop up the yen. So the Japanese do not have to raise interest rates. So the carry trade does not unwind. So the markets don't collapse. It's extremely dangerous. This is a domino effect right here. One wrong move from the front, and you hit that first domino, cooked. You are trying to defend an exchange rate that probably can't be defended, and it is just a matter of time before it breaks. But here's the thing, though, right? Behind the scenes, that's the goal. It's supposed to break. This is a basic concept, right? If you have something that's already there, and you're trying to bring something new to replace it, the process of replacing, meaning the old has to go and the new comes in. Next, we have what's going on over there in the UK, right? As you know, really, there's been a lot, especially with this migrant crisis going on now. Apparently people are getting tired of it, right? So it says UK intelligence suddenly warns of civil war, which is in Matthew 24 as well. Yahushua prophesied about that, right? About one people standing up and fighting against another. That's also in 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. Civil war plot against migrants. Convenient demonization. Intelligence officials are warning that a group of Republican extremists in Ireland, known as the New IRA, is preparing a campaign of violence to drive migrants out of the country, complete with talk of civil war and 24-hour ultimatums. And basically they're saying that, like, what's that in 2nd Ezra 15 as well, right? That they shall not regard their kings nor princes. When you get to the point where the people feel like they need to take matters into their own hands because their governments are not listening or doing anything about it, that's when you end up with these kinds of things. And the whole migrant, years ago, we were doing videos on it, that it wasn't a coincidence that they were just letting these migrants in there. It's kind of like the same tactic they used in the First Purge, the movie, The First Purge, when they were trying to, get violence out of the people, but people were just partying and drinking and, getting things for free. So they had to send in, they tried it, that nothing was really working. They tried different provocations, nothing was really working. So then they had to send in the plainclothes agents. You see, because they're trying to get that provocation. So by flooding these different countries with migrants, you're literally getting that effect, right? There's different videos that have come out of the things they're doing and the crimes, and not every single one of them, but enough to be portrayed in a certain light that it agitates the people. And now you have this. It says the claims amplified across major outlets this weekend. arrive at a moment when frustration with mass migration and the crimes linked to it has reached boiling point on both sides of the border, right? And this is, once again, 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter, right? When there shall be seen uproars of the people around the world. We're seeing that. Whether the threat is as advanced as portrayed or whether the timing serves to tar ordinary opposition to open borders with the brush of terrorism remains an open question. So we'll see. But, you know, every day it's something, right? And it's either something worse than the first, you know, or just more bad news, right? Bad news after bad news after bad news. But that's the times that we're in, you know. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying and informative to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Recha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.